Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take complex research and turn it into knowledge you can use immediately. When most of us think about, the real danger zones of driving, our mind immediately goes to the intersection.
Yeah.
But the threat we tend to focus on it's the classic one, right? The person running a red light coming at you from the side. High speed, high consequence.
And that risk is absolutely real, no question. But what the sources we've looked at reveal is this huge, often overlooked category of risk.
Okay.
Collisions where everyone is basically moving in the same direction. It seems counterintuitive, you're all going the same way. But these situations are just full of what the sources call serious risks and subtle threats.
Right. They seem simple, but they're not. So we're talking rear-end crashes, those messy side swipes, and complex turning conflicts.
Exactly. And they happen so often precisely because we assume everything is predictable in those moments.
So that's the mission today.
That's the mission. It's tactical. We are going to analyze the mechanics of these crashes, speed, visibility, driver behavior, so that you can build that confidence. The goal is to elevate your driving from just passive observation to proactive skilled defense.
To see the crash before it even starts to happen.
That's the idea.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We should probably start with the most frequent one, the one we've all seen, the fender bender, the rear-end collision. Why are intersections, even at low speeds, the absolute prime location for these?
It's all about the element of surprise mixed with, well, poor energy management. Drivers get a little complacent on a straight road. They assume a constant speed. An intersection shatters that assumption.
Okay, so what's the number one cause?
You sudden stop.
But why is a stop sudden at an intersection? You can see the traffic light. You know a stop is possible.
Right, but it's not the red light that's the surprise. The car ahead of you, they might be stopping for a pedestrian that just stepped off the curb when you can't see. Or they might be slamming the brakes to make a quick left turn into a small gap, especially if there's no dedicated turn lane. It's that abrupt, unexpected stop for something else that catches the driver behind completely off guard.
And that unexpected stop leads right into the next problem, which is not being fully present.
Precisely. That brings us to cause number 2, driver inattention or distractions. We all think of mobile phones, and yes, that's a huge one. But it's also just adjusting the GPS, grabbing your water bottle, even looking at a flashing billboard. Any moment your eyes are off the road, you miss the cue.
The brake lights.
You miss the brake lights, and that tiny lapse just decimates your ability to react in time.
And if you are already following too closely to begin with, you have no margin of safety at all.
And that's the next key factor, tailgating. If you don't keep a safe following distance, it doesn't matter how focused you are. Your reaction time is physically too short to stop your own car. The sources are so clear on this that buffer is your first and best defense.
Okay, so we have the human elements. What about the environment itself?
Ah, yes. The environment is the risk multiplier. Weather and road conditions. If the road is slick from rain, ice, or even just oil residue, your stopping distance goes up exponentially.
Right.
So even if you react instantly, even if you brake perfectly, the physics of a slippery road will betray you if you are following too close.
So that covers the front-to-back danger. Let's shift to side-to-side conflicts. We're in multi-lane traffic, moving in the same direction, coming up on an intersection. How do we stop those awful, scraping sideswipe collisions? The sources seem to blame this almost entirely on a lack of awareness.
And they're right. These are almost entirely preventable with good lane discipline. The leading cause is just an improper lane change.
Someone needing to get over to make their turn.
Yep. They need to get from the right lane to the left or vice versa. And they either don't signal or they don't check that critical blind spot.
That blind spot. It's the eternal killer, isn't it? You check the mirror, you think you're clear, and you start to drift over.
And in that drift, the car you thought was behind you is suddenly right there. The recommendation is so strong. Use your mirrors, yes, but also turn your head. Look over your shoulder before you move.
And it's not just other cars we need to worry about.
Not at all. We have to be mindful of large vehicles, trucks, buses. They have enormous blind zones that can literally swallow a car.
Yeah.
If you linger in the blind spot of a semi while you're overtaking, you are invisible. The risk that the truck driver has no idea you're there is just, it's huge.
And if you see a potential crash developing, the worst thing you can do is jerk the wheel.
That's where smooth transitions come in. Erratic driving is just inherently dangerous there. Signal early, make your lane changes gradually, predictably. Sudden moves force everyone else to react, and that can cause a chain reaction.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Segment 2, The high-risk maneuvers of turning. This is where same-direction traffic meets opposing traffic. Let's start with the classic high-stress event, the left turn.
The left turn is so risky because it's a negotiation. You have to coordinate with cars going straight in your direction, and you have to find a safe gap in high-speed oncoming traffic. The number one risk here is just human error. Misjudgment.
Misjudgment of what? The speed of the other cars.
Exactly. The speed and distance of oncoming traffic. You're sitting there maybe feeling pressured by cars behind you, and you take a chance on a gap that's just too small, you commit, and then you realize that car is coming much faster than you thought. That leads to that devastating T-bone collision.
And it's not just the traffic you can see that's the problem. It's what you can't see.
The obstructed view. This is a massive factor. We've all been there. You're stuck behind a big SUV or a van that's also waiting to turn.
Right, and it blocks everything.
It completely blocks your view of the opposing lanes. Or it could be trees, buildings, and crucially, that obstruction might be hiding a smaller, faster vehicle like a motorcycle or a pedestrian about to step into the crosswalk.
Then you have the whole green light versus green arrow issue, which adds another layer of stress.
That's signal confusion, a failure to correctly understand the right-of-way. If you have a standard green light, a solid green circle, you must yield to oncoming traffic.
No matter what.
No matter what. Misunderstanding that or trying to just punch it as soon as the light turns green is a recipe for disaster.
Okay, let's contrast that with right turn risks. These happen in the same flow of traffic, but they're still a big deal.
They are. Right turns are usually lower speed, but they have their own yielding dangers. You have to yield to cars continuing straight in the lane next to you.
To sideswipe again.
Exactly, if you don't check that blind spot. But the most critical yielding failure on a right turn involves vulnerable road users.
People outside the car. Pedestrians, cyclists.
Exactly. Drivers making a right turn, they do a head check for cars, but they completely forget to look for a cyclist in the bike lane or a person in the crosswalk. And those right turn blind spots, the A-pillar of your car, especially on a bigger SUV, can easily hide a person.
We've covered the what and the where. Let's talk about the factor that connects all of this and just amplifies the danger. Speed.
Speed is the multiplier. It's what turns a minor incident into a potential tragedy. We can break it down in 3 ways. First is increased stopping distance. This is just physics. The faster you're going, the longer it takes to stop.
And it's not a linear relationship, is it?
Not at all. It's exponential. The kinetic energy is so much higher. If you're going just 15 miles per hour over the speed limit, the extra roadway you need to stop safely can easily put you past the crosswalk and into the middle of the intersection.
And that's just the car. Your brain can't keep up either.
That's the second component, reduced reaction time. The faster you go, the less time your brain has to perceive a hazard, a yellow light turning red, a pedestrian, and then make a safe decision. Speed literally steals time from you.
And if the collision happens, this is where it gets grim.
This is the critical point. The force of that collision increases exponentially with speed. That increased impact force dramatically raises the severity of injuries, the risk of fatalities, especially for vulnerable road users who have zero protection.
And speeding isn't just a miscalculation, it's a behavior. It often comes with a disregard for the rules.
That's exactly what the sources point to. Speeding drivers are just. They're psychologically more likely to run red lights, either because they're trying to beat the signal or they just misjudge the timing. They roll through stop signs. They create chaos in what should be a controlled environment.
Okay, so we've covered human error, we've covered physics. Let's talk about the solution. Traffic signals, signs. They're designed to solve these exact conflicts. How does the system work?
The infrastructure is all about imposing order and predictability. Traffic controls have a dual function. The first is pretty obvious, regulating flow and reducing conflicts.
Right, telling people when to go and when to stop.
But the key mechanism for safety is signal phasing.
Okay, what does that mean, phasing?
Phasing is the sequence of the lights. So instead of just a simple green, yellow, red, you have dedicated signals for different movements. That protected green arrow for a left turn, that's phasing. It stops all oncoming traffic and gives you a completely safe, protected window to make your turn.
So it takes the guesswork out of it.
It completely removes the need for a driver to judge a high-risk gap. It turns a dangerous guess into a guaranteed safe maneuver.
Which dramatically reduces those T-bone crashes we talked about.
It does. And the second function is just clarity and awareness. Signs provide the information you need before you get to the intersection. Speed limit signs manage velocity. Directional signs, left lane must turn left, ensure proper lane discipline. They guide you into the correct path early.
And what about those vulnerable users, the cyclists and pedestrians?
The system protects them through dedicated infrastructure. You've got pedestrian crossing signals with countdown timers, highly visible crosswalks. These give them a protected time to cross, separating them from the vehicle flow. The same goes for bike lanes and specific bike signals.
So ultimately, the whole system is built on one thing.
Predictability. That's the antidote to chaos. Standardization, a red light, means stop everywhere, and enforcement encourage compliance. When drivers know what to expect from the road and from other drivers, these conflicts drop significantly. The system is designed to eliminate surprise.
We've finished the dive. We've gone from the really common threat of driver distraction causing rear-end collisions all the way to the complex physics of speed, and finally, the systemic solutions like signal phasing.
I think the core takeaway here is just constant active awareness and always maintaining that buffer of space. Understanding why these crashes happen is the knowledge that sharpens your focus and reduces your own personal risk every single time you approach an intersection.
Critical proactive thinking.
That's it. It's essential.
And we'll leave you with one final thought to chew on. The sources mentioned that while signals are designed for safety, poorly timed signals can actually trap vehicles in the middle of an intersection when the light changes.
A very real problem.
So what important question does that raise about the line between driver responsibility and municipal design? Especially when you're stuck in an intersection that feels physically impossible to clear during rush hour. Something to think about until our next deep dive.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.